The Yellow Brick Road. This video does not reflect the actual views of real people. These are actors playing a role to entertain audiences. No persons or animals were harmed in the making of this video. Gosh, I love YouTube and I love Google.
Alright, so this is going to be a reaction to Peter Joseph on the Jimmy Dore show, introducing his, I guess, sort of new book, what's it called? The New Human Rights Movement.
Buy, sell.
And we're going to constructively criticize it.
Sell you my ideas.
Unless he's right.
But
is there a right? Is there a correct human rights?
Look how poor we are.
Alright, Cyborg. Here we go.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. We have a special guest with us, the founder of the Zeitgeist Movement and author of this new book, The New Human Rights Movement. It's Peter Joseph is with us. Say hello to Peter Joseph. Hi Peter.
Hey, how you doing there?
Now first of all, I read this book. I'm not a good reader, so I probably missed a lot of stuff. It is a...
First of all, are there any disagreements you have going into this with Peter Joseph? Any of his work?
Any of his work?
Yeah, you know, founder of Zeitgeist Movement, and he made the Zeitgeist documentaries.
When I was, okay, how should I word this? Walking amongst level ground, if I may say so. And I was climbing the rope.
Okay.
I passed him by, and the Zeitgeist movies.
And I do like his ideas, or at least where I think the ideas are coming from. I think they're from a place of equality, like trying to have equality through systems and mechanics and stuff. The problem is, I think he misreads what human nature is in the first place. So then he'll end up sort of mechanizing human nature, as in, if you're poor, you're more likely to do crime, which I see as very possible, but you can't really hold too much weight behind that, because if you shift the culture of the surroundings of a poor person, even if they are poor, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll be criminal. So it's not really this causing this. It's more of a this causing this with all this other causes and surrounding situations.
Let's be real.
So
you'll be more of a criminal if you're poor.
So I don't think he specifically looks at people in a mechanistic way, but I think he sort of glosses over that he might not actually mean.
No, he's right.
This causes this.
He's right.
That's fine. Let's find out. Yeah.
Great book.
Yeah.
And for me, what I took away from it, you really examine capitalism and the effects of capitalism on societies and people's psyches, and there was so many mind-blowing things in this book. I don't even know where to start, so let me just ask you, Peter, you could maybe tell people what this book is about and summarize it.
Sure. So the New Human Rights Movement, how dare I? Mm-hmm. What is the old Human Rights Movement? Yeah. The focus being, we have to take a kind of a broader sociological, structural view of society to think about all the interplays that produce human behavior, that produce our social systems, our institutions.
So there you go. Right off the bat, the external phenomenon creating human behavior.
Just let me get this out.
Instead of vice versa.
He reminds me of that dude that was on Blue's Clues.
Oh, because of the shirt?
Just him. I can't explain it.
It's the shirt. I think it's the shirt. And the haircut of it.
Maybe. And I can imagine him having a little fucking notebook.
I didn't really watch Blue's Clues. So.
I was a mega fan.
And this is the product of that. You see, when you input Blue's Clues, this is what you get. He has no choice. It's just imposed on him from the outside.
And this is a result of poor poverty and what else? Social engineering, yes.
I was created in a lab. Onward.
More so. Like, what has fomented all of this? How have we gotten here? And that is a public health debate. That is an issue of what defines public health, what defines actually, progress as we know it, has to be defined in terms of actual health regards, not necessarily what we're producing in society, not how much productivity we have or the extent of GDP or how many people are employed, but how happy are we? And this is the core of it as a public health treatment. And I put it in the context of human rights because I feel that when people realize that we have a structural problem, and when I use that word structural, I mean that there's larger order things that are happening that influence our behavior, just as there are biological things that influence our behavior. So structuralism, sociology, effectively it's an interdisciplinary kind of study, which means you have to take a lot into account to figure out what the hell is going on in the world.
So he's starting off, in my opinion, pretty good and also pretty bad at the same time.
Biological.
Pretty good in the sense of, yes, their structures do have influence. Granted, we create the structures in the first place, but imposing structures have an influence, and it doesn't. The thing we have now isn't really affecting happiness. It's not, I guess, elevating happiness. My problem would be, well, what is the happiness in the first place? Is it a mechanistic thing? Is it I give you $1 million, output, you're happy? Is it input, beautiful girl, output, I'm happy? So you can't really dictate what human behavior is using such limited evidence or ideas.
As well as lacking actual solutions to a problem.
Yeah.
Because anybody can point out problems. I can point out problems.
Yeah. And then, like I said, the mechanics of a system are created by people in the first place. So
they're not just there.
Whether they work or not is up to the people. Capitalism, socialism, I forgot what the name of his thing is. It's called a zeitgeist movement thing. It'll all depend on the people. You can create your perfect mechanistic society where, if someone throws garbage on the ground, some machine comes by and picks it up or something and recycles it. You can do that all you want, but the idea of corruption being there will thwart any fucking system you have.
I remember in his series, it was talking about like a new system, how this system doesn't necessarily work, But at the same time, it'd always be thwarted if there's always corruption there, always. Yeah. So he might not have the answer for that, which it'd be a constant, forever-ending battle between him and that argument of, well, all it takes is one guy to be corrupt,
It's like steroids in sports, right? As soon as they come up for a test for the thing a lot of people have been cheating with, all of a sudden these guys come up with a new drug that's beyond the testing. Then the testing has to step up, and there's new drug, then new testing.
I don't know about that.
What do you think of this?
New drug, god damn.
Or an extension of an old drug.
Well, yes and no.
It's technically.
It's basically drug. You have a league. Guys start taking amphetamines or steroids. I test you for that, and then you get busted. But guys still want to take that stuff and other stuff such as human growth hormone, amphetamine, steroids, etc. They'll find ways around the test to beat it, whether it's a masking agent for the drug.
They buck the system.
Not a new drug, as far as I know.
But they up the ante, and they have to catch up to them, and it's constantly a back and forth of, okay, they're using this to avoid tests or to cheat the test. We have to do this in order to counteract it, and it's just on and on and on and on and on. If you're not addressing corruption in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think he believes that you can just infuse some sort of there's no need to cheat. Our system, the way it's built, there won't be a reason to cheat. Like that.
Yes, but it's...
And he believes, I think he believes it's economic. As in, if we make everyone... If we pay all ball players the exact same amount of money, then there'll be less... People won't cheat.
But he doesn't. Okay, but he doesn't understand. I understand where it's going. Level playing field, etc. The idea of I have to provide for my family thing, will be a thing of the past. Like I look at a guy. You could look at a guy like Melky Cabrera, who's on the Yankees. got traded to Atlanta, didn't do so hot. Then he went to the Royals or something like that, just started doing very well, and the Giants, etc. Then he got caught, you know. But the thing is,
right?
yeah, but you could, or not even him, other guys, but you could see how these guys could take things, you know, and now all of a sudden they're the all-star. They're one of the best top 30 players. They get that contract. Now their family's taken care of, and they might, and you know, that might be their moral reason for it, even though it's really silly and weak.
Yeah, even.
But hold on. Then wait, let's say all that's gone. There's no poverty in this new system. What they don't understand is there is the
admiration.
And it involves the internal, and no level playing field system could, you know.
Yeah. To strive to be great or whatever, to have your name known, which
is why a lot of people would have a theory that's why Barry Bonds did it. Barry Bonds is already a Hall of Famer.
Already had millions of dollars.
He saw McGuire and Sosa's dicks getting sucked beyond belief. Those, like, you know, like, dude, he hit home runs, but I mean, like, come on.
And this point you're making is the one thing that, because I watched an interview with Peter Joseph and Alex Jones. That's the one thing Alex Jones had over him. Like, you can see Alex Jones, he does it in a silly way, but he's like, his face gets red, he starts beating his chest, like, how are you going to systemize that? Or something like that. He's talking about human expression and all that. So.
I don't know if I believe in no limits, but.
I want to be a man. It's silly, but
he's very.
Makes a point.
Well, again, it's the internal. He might be very limited when it comes to that, or he may not have a grasp of it. His whole system, his whole ideas, maybe currently.
Well, I think he considers them simple. I think either that or the Jacques Fresco guy. He's like, I guess he's like the like a mentor almost. But I think he strongly believes that if you eliminate these weak systems of things, then human beings can flourish.
They can flourish within a
as in these things make them sad, or these things make them ignorant, or these things make them this or that.
It's really themselves, in my opinion. Like, the outside factors definitely have a contribution to that. There's also choice involved, internal decisions being made, etc. You know.
Oh, I would say it starts internal. It's internally something, they create it outwardly, then it feeds back to the rest of society. But even though some other individuals didn't partake in the creation of, let's say, capitalism, even though they weren't directly creating capitalism.
Well, I know, now they're born into this system.
I would say we all have everything, so part of them is also expressing capitalism and then feeding it back to themselves, which is why they may agree or disagree, along with other things like conditioning and all that shit.
Yes, but how can I say this? Batman. Yeah, that's basically it.
The immovable object.
Yep. No matter what system he's in.
We'll explain that later, because we're lazy.
Oh, don't fucking group me.
And that's really what this is about at its very core, is that approach. And what I conclude in the text is that with this old economy that we have, you can call it 230. Market system, you can call it capitalism.
He's been working
I think of it more broadly. I say it's an economy run by market forces. That more gets to the point of it. Market forces embodies all the motivations people have.
I'm just making an assumption here. Wait, play it again. Play it again.
Rewind?
If you want. Yeah, rewind it. Yeah. All right. He didn't want to wear that shirt under there, but he was too afraid he'd show off his gains. He's like, fuck it.
Vegan gains. All right.
Kind of study, which means you have to take a lot into account to figure out what the hell is going on in the world. And that's really what this is about at its very core, is that approach. And what I conclude in the text is that with this old economy that we have, you can call it market system, you can call it capitalism. I think of it more broadly. I say it's an economy run by market forces. That more gets to the point of it. Market forces embodies all the motivations people have. It generates the infrastructure, so to speak, the procedural dynamics, all the things we have to do to gain in this reality, to survive. And then you have all these people, suddenly 7 billion of us, pulling levers on a giant machine. And we're not paying attention to what this machine's actually doing. We're getting our little treats and we're throwing it in our mouth and our little stupid rewards, and we keep going in our short-term interest, and yet this machine is a big train that's flying straight off of a cliff into oblivion.
I get what he's saying, but it's also...
let's get a little more detail. He's basically saying that market forces, which is, I would say, demand and whatever the other shit is.
Supply and demand.
Yeah, that's defining what's going on with the economy, which will trickle down to different people to decide how they react to things. Like, if, let's say, the price of oil is skyrockets or something, and gas stations are charging $10 for a gallon of gasoline, and all of a sudden the person who's not making those decisions around are affected by it, and they have to pour out money to get gas, and then it affects their medical bills, which affects this and that.
You are and you aren't a bystander.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I didn't do anything. I'm like, yeah, that's part of the problem. Come on. Follow me.
Yeah. So he's basically, I think he's saying that we're basically living in the people that aren't making those market decisions are just gambling with everything. In a way.
Say it again?
The people that aren't in the marketing system dictating prices and all this shit, they're the ones that are basically gambling. They have no idea what their roll of the dice is because the market's dictating things way above their heads somewhere.
Now, say that again 10 times really fast.
No.
Yeah, kinda. We're just it's their world and we're just living in it. Yes.
I agree with a lot of things with him. Just the
I'm being sarcastic.
The human part of it.
No, he's lacking that.
That's a huge part to be missing.
It's like, well, like, in the big thing would be as far as maybe, let's say a structural problem. He might have the answer to some of that, but a big part of it is a byproduct of who created it and what created it, and that's a person. So he might not have a solution for that, which is a big problem.
Yeah.
And the solution is really basically understanding. I think he has an understanding of possibly like a sick society, which is what we have. The world probably. Well, yeah, I would say so. The world, and certain people are definitely influencing. I don't want to say created.
I don't know if he goes there.
No, I'm saying he probably can't. I'm saying he could probably tell you how some people, like thieves or whatever the fuck, murderers, they feel desperate out of here, but they can't go into depth. Why? How?
Yeah.
That's big. That's huge.
It's basically giving what are they called? Prozac pill to someone who's sad.
Prozac. Now smile for me. Here's your Prozac smile. Dude, he was going off when I was listening. I'm like, God damn. It's like an hour.
And until we
listen to T.I., then it's him. Like, God damn, fucking duo. Jesus Christ.
Our heads around that, we're going to have a serious public health crisis in terms of socioeconomic inequality, one of the most destructive forces on the face of the earth, shattering human trust, social capital, they call it. We don't trust each other anymore. We have disparate groups that are going...
Well, like, you'd have to talk about it if you're going to talk about that stuff like that, in my opinion. No.
Well, I brought up the word trust, which is not physical in form.
No. What I'm saying is if it's a part of the person in a much deeper kind of way, then you would have to go there, or else you would be one of those guys that would just be pointing out the problems and not offering any solutions, which is a lot.
Which is healthy too.
Well, no,
just
like again, that's
a step on the ladder.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why I called it a rope. Like you're the first couple knots, and you keep going up, keep climbing, keep pulling. They can't see it.
Sure about that? All right.
Out of control. We have a whole new level of insurgencies and terrorism. The United States, of course, is the forbidden example of all of this. I call it the forbidden experiment, I should say. Sort of like when you lock a kid in a closet and you don't look at them for 10 years, and they come out and they're all deranged with this kind of primalness. That's the way I see the United States experiment at this point, because look at the violence. Look at everything that we're doing. Look how weird the culture has become. Look at the political system. It's become this amalgamation of so many things that, in my mind, is indicative of the worst outcomes, the most predictable but yet worst peak outcomes of the kind of social system we have, the capitalist market force-driven system.
All right. Who's to say it ever became that? Who's to say it was never originally like that or treading towards, Yeah,
he's reiterating the outside-in approach, which plays a role, but it started in first. It went in to out, then back out to in, rather than straight up system here and then it just palpatines everything. Goes.
That won't catch on.
You're bad now.
You are bad now. You lack faith and knowledge. You will pay for your lack of vision. No, wait! Stop!
So that...
I hope he's not one of those guys that looks at the past and see how everything's in order. And so then there's some corruption, but society seems... it seems that they have depth and they show stability. It's like, that's called suppressing ideas. It's like, it's weird, man. I think I've seen this before with some people, and maybe like media. They have this weird fascination, possibly when things were maybe in the 50s, where things were very seemingly portrayed very clean and orderly and very concrete. And I'm like, yeah, and there's also a lot of fucked up shit going on too. And you know what happens when you suppress something? When you have a fucking little pipe and you put a rock or a stone in the pipe and the water is building up and it overflows and then fucking...
The hippie movement.
Well, you get that. And then...
Right? Didn't you have the Leave It to Beaver household type thing? And it's just suppressing all
the Andy Griffin show too.
You suck at whistling.
Huh?
You suck at whistling.
No, I don't.
Alright, take it back. But yeah, with all that lifestyle, and you're suppressing
trying to be too loud.
Suppressing an expression of, wanting to be free or free love.
Ideas with also
party and
or what's acceptable.
hedonism.
It's like social engineering in a way. Think this way, dress this way, feel this way. This is what's good. And then when you get an overflow of that, and then when you can say like the '60s, the hippie movement, which itself is like another more climbing. They're there, but they gotta climb.
It gushes out, and they have their party, and then they have their hangover.
Sure.
Which is probably like the 70s,
This
late 70s.
thing that happens too is when I'm gonna call it the hand.
What?
The hand is what I'm gonna call it. Is when the pipe is overflowing. Now there's panic. There's oh fuck. What they do is they try to suppress it, slap it down, and eventually it starts to, stop a little bit, but then it starts to level out, as all the water is overflowing. But then there's all this fucking mess everywhere, mess. You get the 70s and the 80s, and it just becomes somewhat of a norm. But then there's that wish for I liked it when the pipe wasn't overflowing. It's like, this is a good thing. It's just unfortunate the pipe was originally there to begin with.
Yeah. And that old style Leave It to Beaver thing is basically what Trump ran on, right? Make America Great Again.
He talked about Reagan.
He says again.
Yeah. When was ever great? When the fuck was this place ever... What does that mean? What does greatness mean to you? What does that mean?
Well, for him, he's been basically rich his whole life.
Somewhat, yeah. He is,
and got richer, correct?
Oh, yeah. I would say so. But he ran on the fucking Reagan thing, Reaganomics, and that dude's probably a war criminal too. I have to look into it, but he's also a big proponent of fucking people's lives up too.
Yeah.
And now,
I'm sure they all have a record of it.
Sure, but he's also like, the war on drugs. Fuck out of here, man. We are America. we believe in the good. It's like, you're a criminal. You brought drugs into here. Leave It to Beaver is a great show, and water pitcher slaps it, runs away.
Let's keep this moving.
Yeah.
Combination with the ecological crisis, again, those levers that we're pulling on the machine.
So let me just stop you at the market forces.
Sure, yeah.
So,
Damn, Aaron.
your critique is talking about that this quote-unquote free market system, first of all, isn't a free market system, that it's really manipulated by the people with the most money, which means they're the most powerful, that manipulate a free market into their favor, correct?
All right, it's not the market's problem.
Okay, I think that's what Jimmy Dore's saying. I think the whole zeitgeist movement thing is saying that it's the system itself that allows creepers in. That allows
they talk.
things.
I believe. From what I remember, I believe they talk.
That's anything, man.
Yeah, like there is no such thing as an incorruptible system. It's incorruptible people that make a system, basically a byproduct of something that's incorruptible.
Yeah.
When your pillars have when they're not stable and they can be easily pushed over, shit happens. That's why when you have what do you call it, a free market?
Mm-hmm.
It can be like, this isn't working. I'm like, no. What happens is when you get people that are corruptible or corrupt in that system, it becomes bad for everybody. It's a little taint. It's a little like a little white wall, a little like red dot in the middle. It's all of a sudden there's something there, All your attention directs towards the dot. It's like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, one thing connects to the other. So
there's no such thing as that.
5 corrupt people can fuck up 300 million people.
Yeah.
Right.
18? No. What's it called? 20 weeks later? 18 weeks later?
What?
What's it called?
What?
Zombie movie?
28 days later.
That's it. My bad. Yeah.
And weeks later.
It begins with one person getting the disease and a bite, and it bites another, and it bites another, and then they're all running.
I think that was actually a metaphor for that. I think.
That's what I got.
Yeah.
That be correct?
As would be expected. So here's one differentiation that I want to make. So a lot of people will say this debate, they'll bring up this debate, well, if we could only have a more robust free market, if we could stop the crony capitalism, if we could stop all of the apparent things that are anomalous, but they're not anomalous. They're part of a competitive gaming strategy of group versus group. And capitalism is the embodiment of that primitive behavior, coming from, again, eons of evolution of our most core and base instincts of keeping your tribalism together and not caring.
There has been little to, if at all, evolution of people in a way, There's been, I don't know if he's one of those guys, but see this right here, it's a mic. They didn't have that 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But guess what? People killed people 1,000 years ago. People still have these primitive, poorly built images of themselves as a person. That it astounds me. Like, when these primitive instincts, I'm like, be careful.
Yeah, there's also allegory and parables from ancient fucking times that show like a capacity of a human. You don't even have to go biblical. You can go fucking Buddhism or ancient Egypt and shit. They had stories about the human condition.
And they're far. Some of them have like major points.
Yes.
Like major points, they're often misinterpreted, and it astounds me when people. I'm not saying he is one of them, but that's why I'm kind of smelling almost a little bit like these primitive ideas. And I'm not quoting him. I'm just saying it's what I'm getting from. He might be one of those guys that says, "Oh, these old systems, they didn't work." I'm like, no, there was someone corrupt in the system, and there's people out there that written these things down that proved like something in regard to the human spirit or the internal. We're talking about the self that people probably got God from. I don't know. It's just a theory.
Yeah,
but it's when these people call it primitive and there is no evolution regarding them. Like, it's the mass people that didn't get it
regarding behavior. Yeah,
it's been like, what's the word? It's not stagnant, right? No.
For what?
I don't know where I got that from. Anyway, you can imagine like a growth chart, right? And it's like possibly somewhere regarding like, as far as there's a group of people that have like, I think every group of civilization might have this, probably the free thinkers, the philosophers. It's a small growth because it's out of I'm not saying there has to be a philosopher, but it's that searching internally as far as what
an introvert.
Yeah. But along the line, as far as mass people, it's like, like my name is doo-doo-doo. I like this, but that's things like on such a fucking how do I call it? Straight line. There's no growth period where there's mass people.
Yeah. What makes you think there weren't like you were saying, like a small class of sophisticated ideas from people, but then they weren't the ones that wanted to rape and pillage the rest of the world.
Sure.
So the savages stood out, and then they write the history, and then they're the names that we remember. Like, oh, they were so evil back then. Look at Genghis Khan and how many people he killed. What if he was just the loudest fucking voice there? What if there were people who were like, this isn't right.
Savages and the ones I'm calling them savages. The ones that the conquerors, these people build these up. Some people build that dude up as to be someone like, oh man, what a great figure of history. He's a dark period.
Bill and Ted.
And a sad part of history.
Bill and Ted 3 coming out soon.
Build these people up. We never talk about.
It actually is.
Really?
Yes,
Holy
I can't wait.
Shit.
I can't wait.
I'm Bill and I'm Ted and we're the wild stars.
Alright.
The princesses. Alright. But yeah, there has been no growth period for you to say, like, you know, if you just talk about like the human evolution. Oh, do you mean electronics and electronic paraphernalia and whatnot?
Exactly.
Is that what you're going off of? That's very little. It's very small. That's like giving that's like saying that you have a toddler, you have a baby, you have a little child, which is what most people are, but that's for another time. And then you give him, all right, oh, he has booties on. Let's give him some Yeezys. Oh, he's evolved. Oh shit, let's give him an iPhone. Oh, but guess what? He's still a baby.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, you know, that's like you give someone who's not like, you know, like a fucking water gun to a gun. He's evolved.
I bet if you go back to ancient times and gave them all the technology that connects each other,
it'd be the same shit.
With the weaponry that can kill masses of people, it'd be something very, very similar.
It is very similar, as well as the as far as the geopolitical realm of back then, empires.
You can't say
etc.
Who dropped the nuke? Truman. You can't say Truman, who dropped the nuke in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You can't say like, oh, he's more evil than some ancient tyrant who killed 1,000 people. He just murdered a whole village by himself. Like, let's change their weapons around and then look at the kill numbers. It doesn't really say who's.
It's the act of you.
Who's more corrupt or who's less corrupt or who's more animalistic, who's this or that.
It's the act of emptiness, which is you can't really measure evil in a way, you know.
No. You can observe it, I would say. We'll get onto that. We'll get on that.
If you want to know, check out our next video. Or eventually in time.
Now we should do that today. I already had the idea.
Today.
Yeah.
I was studying. Give me time.
About the external. And it's that very problem that in our high-tech societies,
What did you say there?
Competitive gaming strategy of group versus group. And capitalism is the embodiment of that primitive behavior, coming from, again, eons of evolution of our most core and base instincts of, you know, keeping your tribalism together and not caring about the external. And it's that very problem that in our high-tech societies, again, flying us off of the cliff. So go back to your point. What we have in terms of the free market, everything you see around you, this is it. No. This is the free market. It's the free market that buys politicians just like you buy pizza. It's the free market that takes and gouges people in the medical community to get as much as they possibly can to extract for the self-interest of one group or corporation. It's the free market that lobbies, that does everything that you consider to be unethical, but within the game of competition, there really aren't any lines anymore. I mean, it just depends on what corner you're backed into.
Again, it wouldn't be a problem if there was no one that was corrupt.
Yeah, what he's describing is people. Like, it's free market that contributes to lobbyists. It's free markets that contribute to paying off politicians.
Yeah, but who does that?
People do that.
Okay, that's it.
There's your answer.
What bothers me is that he may come up with a Sam Harris-esque solution to where we trust these people, but you can't have a say in it. You're corrupt. You're more likely to be corrupt. You're from this area. I'm not saying he's saying that.
Nah, I don't think he's saying it, yeah.
But it can lean towards that or something else where it's you don't have a solution. This is a problem. The solution is what?
I think he's gonna. All right, let's say he gets all the resources and everything to create the system that he has planned out.
Yeah.
He's gonna be disappointed by the end, to where when he realizes that, some kid walking down the street can easily just keep walking, or he could say, "I'm bored. I'm gonna do something stupid," which can cause chain reaction and all this.
Sure.
And aren't there rich kids that like shoplift for the thrill of shoplifting?
Yeah, probably.
There you go.
Fucking what's his name? The Ball brother, one of the Ball brothers.
Yeah. His life is set. He's one of the most popular people on the planet.
He's not.
Or not on the planet. In America.
He's not even. Yeah, dude. He's a fucking. In a way, he's a socialite. He's also an athlete, but he's like
a well-known name.
They copied the blueprint of what the Kardashians did.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's a byproduct of a unhealthy society, from what I can see.
And then, yeah.
And that dude fucking shoplifted where? Korea?
China, I think.
Okay, my bad. China. Somewhere.
I think, yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit.
For no reason.
Yeah, just did it. Just fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're set. What the fuck are you doing? But at the same time,
your brother's fame got you a free ride to UCLA, basically. I believe he's on scholarship, so he got like a free ride off of his brother's fame.
I don't know. I don't know how good he is. I have seen his.
Let's be honest.
I'm not turning this into an episode about him or anything. I just looked at it. I'm like, I can see the potential for a good NBA athlete and skill. I don't know.
He could definitely be a good player. What I'm saying is, probably in some closed room when his brother signed to go to UCLA, he's like, my brother's going to come here too. And they have to like sort of make things happen to make sure they get to their school. And that brings in notoriety, that brings in fans, that brings in money.
It's money, yeah.
So, but
at the same time, he could be. I'm just saying, he could be.
Yeah. So, yeah, him shoplifting when he doesn't need to. Well, why'd he do it? Maybe it was to fit in with friends. Maybe it's they were bored. Who knows? It doesn't mean that, like, the system's oppressing them, so they do something
or even
silly.
This. And this is another thing I highly doubt that he has the answers for. Is this, in this perfect society, perfect in his eyes.
Perfect system, yeah. Which will
in his eyes
affect society someday.
In his eyes, is that, and this is, I'd say this is a very basic thing, but no one's poor. Everything's it's generally fine. There's no reason to steal.
And I'm down with all that.
Hold on. There's no economic reason to steal. No one's poor. Everything's provided for. But you will have a rebel in that system because without any internal work going on that's touched upon, it's like you have everything you need. There's no need anymore. Yes, there is, bitch. Yes.
And that rebel could cause a chain reaction.
Yeah.
Of like, I feel something too to be rebellious.
Yeah.
Let me express it. Oh, here's a leader we can look at to express our rebelliousness.
You'll have the one guy pumping his fist in the air, wanting something different.
So I think we're going to stop the video here. Just keep it sort of short. And I do like a lot of his social ideas as far as the mechanics of his system.
Sure.
They're very interesting. And they seem very inclusive. But he's not accounting for the human aspect of it. He says human nature, but he's putting human nature on this thing where everything externally creates human nature rather than a play between the internal and external.
Yeah, I could be wrong here, but I remember somewhat in a portion of the series when they're talking about like this new system they have. I used to think that way.
Venus Project or something like that.
Some regards, if like capitalism doesn't work, it just needs to be something new. But when I was questioned about it, I couldn't give you a solution.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize was it was the people within the system itself. It's not the system itself. You could have fucking communism, and that would work. It would work perfectly if no one was corrupt.
Yes.
So the issue is here, like his series offered something in regards of a one world government-esque type of thing. That's what they talked about.
I think he's saying the need
of the
need
whole world
of
following.
no government.
Well, I mean, like a one world order of some type.
One world following one
Sure.
giant idea
Sure.
of.
I'm not comparing that to the New World Order, the one world government thing. What I'm saying is, it wouldn't work if you don't. Well, actually, you wouldn't need a government or any type of order if everyone was in check. You know.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would like everybody to be in the spectrum. I don't know if everyone's gonna be on like higher up on the spectrum or whatever, but there wouldn't be a need for that. That's what these guys don't understand. I would say, because if they did, then they wouldn't be saying some of these things that they're saying right now.
Yeah. So Peter Joseph addressed the human nature aspect, which I think you have a lesser understanding of. Other than that, I like the system stuff.
Oh, and I can't
the
tell
ideas of it.
I can't tell you. I can't tell you how. I can't tell you how to do this. I can't tell you how to look into the eternal. I can't do it. I can't do it.